said Hemi.
Wow. A Hemi.
I can go out and drive the car, and I can drive it for anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour, and it runs great. Shifts fine, idles, air conditioning works, does everything it's supposed to do. And then just out of nowhere, I go to pull up at a stop sign, and before it would just cut off. Well, today what it was doing is it started like running like crap, like missing, like a dead miss in it. Like it didn't want to run right. It felt almost like it was in limp mode, but it was shifting all right. A little higher than normal, but it shifted. I got home, sitting here in the driveway, and it clearly had a miss in it. And can't find nothing wrong. Everything on the hood looks fine, did that log, all the sensors and all within spec. The car just is not happy. And it happens after you drive a half an hour to an hour, and you can reset the codes, like I just did, let it cool all the way off. Like in a couple hours, I could take it out again. It would probably run perfect for another half hour or so. And then all of a sudden, boom, starts running like crap again. So that tells you it's not a sensor related issue. It's not an engine related issue, because when it's cold, the motor runs fine. It shifts fine. It does everything it's supposed to do and it's super smooth. Only when this thing gets hot like that, it starts acting up. And I've got everything out in the floorboard just in case it was a heat issue. That's not a problem. So what we're looking at here is a bad computer, PCM, ECM, whatever you call it. It's just bad. And it's the original one from the 06 Dodge Daytona Hemi that I got the engine drivetrain out of. So the computer came with that car. And at this point, it appears that's been part of my problem the whole time. Again, before, it wouldn't really show any codes. The evap, it shows the evap all the time. But other than that, it would just do random, like it just shut off. I'd be driving it, pull up at a stoplight or something, and it's always when I was stopping, it would die. I'd go to crank it, it didn't want to crank. I had to do it like 3 or 4 times. I finally get it to crank and run, and then it may run fine. Then it may cut off again. You never knew. So that's why I haven't been driving the car much. I feel like the computer's bad, and I'm not gonna keep messing with it anymore. I'm gonna pull all that out, the harness kit, the computers and all, because instead of buying another stock computer, which you'd have to get a used one, I'm not gonna deal with that right now. I'm just gonna buy a Holley Terminator-X for the car, like I put on my black car. I'm gonna do the whole wiring kit and everything for it, rewire my transmission controller that I got from Russell Drake, and I'll be done with this. Because I'm tired of messing around with this 17-year-old computer system that just seems to be intermittent. I just can't trust it. If I can't go out and drive it, I don't trust it. I don't want my car to break down on me, and I don't want my wife to take it out on my daughter and it break down on them, so. Well, that escalated quickly. This is the Hotwire Auto harness. If your car didn't have a computer system on it, this is how you can accomplish it. This is one way to accomplish it. This actually is the 5.7 Hemi for 03 to 08 with a NAG1 5-speed transmission. So what you have here is your actual ECM, the main computer. That is the transmission computer. That is called the front mount computer. And this is for the ABS. If you were to use his tone ring and sensors, which I did not, I had the Russell Drake solution, which has a standalone controller for it, so I didn't need that module. So you'll notice there's not been a lot of 68 Charger content in a while. It's because I got a snag trying to put my Holley Terminator-X on. So today's Saturday, the 5th of August. This is my replace kit. This is part number 550-1420. And this is a kit I had to go to because of this right here. This is the drive-by-wire harness. Now the other kit I tried to use didn't have it. It didn't say it didn't have it. So I bought the kit, got it here, started running wires as you saw in my last video where I've got the coil wires hooked up, and had no drive-by-wire harness. How's it supposed to run? Well, what they didn't tell you was those kits, I guess you're supposed to use your throttle cable. Well, who has that? So after making some phone calls, paying an extra about $400, this is the kit. What I found out is mine is a mid-year change. So like my gas pedal, the connection is the first gen style. This harness is supposed to come, or the harness I need for the car comes with the later style, but the connections for the drive-by-wire don't match, even though the coils did match. So long story short, these are the later style coil harness that doesn't come in that kit. They had to switch it out for me, and everything else kind of works. And hopefully if the connections don't work for the crank sensor and cam sensor, I bought spares of those right here, and I can solder those into place. And I had to get the kit with the EV1 harness, which is fine. I bought adapters for my injectors, go from EV6 to EV1. So just a few little things to adapt it, because mine had, you know, first and second gen parts on it, being an 06 Dodge Charger that this came out of. All right, well, after a very long week, I lost time because I was in California a little over a week and a half ago. I was in California, and I was waiting on parts and things like that. Unfortunately, I'm fighting a sinus infection. Every time I fly, I get a sinus infection. But this is the overall recap. It's got a Holley Terminator-X Max in this car now, runs the whole car, and the transmission is controlled by Russell Drake's PCS 2600 controller with a little different harness and my factory TCM. And what I've been doing for the last couple of days is I've actually been going out and driving it and getting the Holley to learn a little bit, because I do have an E85 tune I put in it. I'm not sure where the timing should be, so the stock parameters added 3 degrees all the way across the board. And then the PCS controller, I had some issues with it. Russell had to log in and download a new file for me, and then it started shifting fine. And I've actually had to go back and tweak the TPS settings relative to the throttle body to get it to shift right. Because right out of the box of his tune, it wasn't shifting at part throttle till like 3,500, which is kind of high. So I manipulated those. I got it to shift under 3,000 now, where you're just cruising, which is much more livable. The only problem is I've got to still tweak it a little bit. When you go wide open throttle in first and it's kind of spinning, it can over rev, and if it goes over like 6,400, it'll throw it in limp mode and act like it goes into neutral, because that happened. Other than that, when you're rolling and get on it, it shifts out about 5,500, which is where I want it to shift on this car. This Hemi stock with headers, cold air kit, and a tune. I mean, basically it's pretty stock. So anyway, I just wanted to show you what it looks like in here now. Hit all my wires. I got some loom to put over these wires and they'll be done. I got these cables hooked up just to show you. I've got my Holley Terminator-X software, and I've got my PCS software. And this is where I was tuning the PWM versus the TPS setting here and adjusting it. But anyway, I'm getting ready to show you that it all works. So I'm going to go online. It's blue. Unfortunately, with my cable hooked up, it makes my speedometer jump. See there? As soon as I disconnect it, it quit the speedometer. So it's just weird with the software hooking that cable. But anyway, so that works. Then we'll go over here. We'll download the tune from the computer. There it goes. Everything's done. Close this window. Then we'll go over here. We can check our fuel. This is our fuel, our graph, learn table, target air fuel. So all this is still a work in progress. My table's still figuring itself out a little bit, but it ain't too bad. It actually starts and runs great. From there, we go over here, and this I've got it set up. It's a 345 cubic inch motor. It's VE based, E85. I got my fuel pump running about 3.5 seconds, which is pretty much about what I need. And then from there, the ignition on this car is a Gen 3 Hemi 36 2+2 coil-on plug. And then the basic input and output, this is where you do your fans. I've got my first fan coming on at 186, going off at 178, because I have a 180 degree thermostat in the car. The fan 2 comes on at 190, goes off at 186. So that's how that works. I do have the air conditioning hooked up for AC shutdown. It's right here. It's at 50% TPS. And if we go down here to inputs and outputs, you do have to go in here to your AC kick function, which is J1A12 is the pin, and you have to set it to 12 volts because default is ground. I won't mind a trigger on a turn on the compressor. So basically this card's pretty simple. When I push this button, it sends 12 volts to the compressor and turns on the air conditioning. Okay, from there, we go here. This is our idle. Right now I've got my ramp at 35%, 5-second delay, 3.5-second startup, and 4-second decay time on it. And my target idle speed right here, 740 when it's fully warm, 1100 when you first crank it, and then as it warms up, it goes from 1000 and slides down to 800 and 740. And that's pretty much it for that. Another one on here is the drive-by-wire. Tells me I got my stock Chrysler drive-by-wire. And then here on the pedal, it lets you actually adjust it if you wanted to. I've not messed with it. That's the factory ramp. And I think I missed, let's see here. Oh yeah, I missed this one for spark. So basic spark table. Cranking, I added 1 degree, it's 16 degrees when it cranks. And for timing, if you look, there's my timing table. And I have it at 18 degrees at idle, 36 at cruise, 23 wide open. And again, I can play around with those later. But for now, just to get up and running, it runs great. And so what we'll do, we'll crank this thing up. Okay. And we'll monitor it. So this right here shows us our air fuel, our RPM, oil pressure, air temp, map sensor. Everything's working great. Alright. And now we'll turn that off. Go over here. This is go online to this. And we can monitor it here too. And this right here shows us our TAC, shows us our trans temp, our charging, and TPS. And I'm going down the road, I have this match. This matches my speedo. This is important that it matches so your shifting time is right. Punch it. All right, yes, I'll do a little closeout on this video. So the Holley Terminator-X Max is installed. It runs great. It's still learning. I'm probably going to reach out to Andrew Baroden. He's Dr. EFI or Project Gotta Go. He did the tune of my black Mustang for the Holley. I'm probably going to get him to do just a touch-up tune in this to get it perfect, you know, so I got the timing and all right, but right now it runs phenomenal. Russell Drake's controller seems to be doing okay. I don't know if it's because it's in learn mode or what, but at one point I can go out and it shifts wonderful, and the next time it's kind of off a little bit. So I had to adjust the TPS signal and the PWM, and that seemed to make a difference. But like I say, I don't know if it's because it's in learn mode, but you'll go out and it shifts lower than 3,500, and then next time you try to stop and go out, it changes a little bit. So there's something off a little bit in that. I've got to tweak it. Maybe it's learning, you know, I don't know. But I'd say the engine's 100%. The transmission controller is about 90%. So it's not perfect, but it's drivable. It shifts. It does everything it's supposed to do. It's just the RPM at which it shifts when you're quarter throttle versus wide open throttle. That I need to tweak, and it's just some things I'm trying to learn on my own and see if I can figure it out. But other than that, the car runs great. Starts, cruises, perfect. I've had zero issues since changing out that other computer and harness. I think the harness is fine. I think it was just the stock computer just had a problem, and it was fight me. And just to close out the video, I'm probably gonna sell that harness. So if you're looking to do a Hemi swap in your car, you will need to get a stock '06 Dodge computer for it. But you know, that harness is over $2,000. And it's crazy to think a bunch of wires and stuff is that, but that's what it costs for that harness. But I'd sell mine cheap, you know, just, I don't need it anymore. But I did prove that it wasn't the harness. The harness is fine, it's the computer. Long story short though, I am very happy with the Holley. I wish I would have done that in the beginning. I would have been much further along now, 2 years later. And the Russell Drake tone ring solution, that was just, for my car, it's just too tight to fit the Hotwire Auto tone ring. It just wouldn't fit in the confines of the transmission tunnel housing is the best way to say it. But right now the car is back. It runs phenomenal. I'm super happy with how the car turns out. It's got the Gen3 Hemi swap in it, the NAG 1 5-speed automatic overdrive. So not only does it run better than it ever did back in the 60s, gets better gas mileage, fuel injection, instant cold start. It ticks all the right boxes. So just want to close this out, let you know my feedback on the Holley Terminator-X. It's a very good system. This is my second system now that I've got, one in my Mustang and one in my Charger. And Russell Drake's been very helpful. He runs Sound German Engineering, or Sound German, I don't know. Anyway, he sells the PCS controllers for doing a standalone of your transmission. Mine's still a hybrid. It's got the TCM from the '06 Dodge Charger in it. And so the PCS is talking through that to get shift points right. He has a 2800 model, which is fully standalone, and I wish I would have gotten that, but I had to work with what I got. So this should work fine. It's just tweaking the TCM properly, but you know, once I figure it out, I'm sure it'll be okay. But anyway, if you got any questions, let me know. But I just wanted to highlight some of the problems I had, why I had to change, why I went to what I did, some of the install. I had a ton of video, but I didn't put it in here because I didn't want you to be bored watching me pull wire and stuff like that. But overall, good system. Any questions, let me know. Thanks for hanging out with me.